Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And today I wanted to talk about Chiefs wide receiver Mecole Hardman and the outlook of his future in Kansas City. So I actually wrote about this on ArrowheadAddict.com. You guys can check that out after you're done watching this video. If you're more of a fan of reading than listening to me, that's fine. I mean, that's why I do both. But yeah, I'll link the article in the description afterwards if you guys want to check it out. But I'm going to be rehashing a lot of the same points in this video. But I think it's really interesting, this conversation, and I haven't heard it talked about a whole bunch. Like, I've seen people comment on it here and there, but I kind of wanted to go in depth on it. So Mecole Hardman is a player that we've seen his snaps significantly decrease over the past few games, and he's pretty much been benched. This development came after the Green Bay Packers game when Mecole Hardman had 2 drops and a fumble, and he also had the play in which, and look, it's debatable, but if you guys know what I'm talking about, there's this play where Mecole Hardman was running deep, and Patrick Mahomes ended up rolling out, and he was looking for him. And had Mecole Hardman not slowed down and stopped running, he might have been able to make the catch in which Mahomes chucked downfield. But that's neither here nor there. Point is, Mecole Hardman had been putting the ball on the ground a lot. Like in that same game, there was a 3rd and 2 play where the Chiefs drew up a quick out for Mecole that would have went for a first down, hit him right in the hands. He drops it. He just has not been great this year, and because of that, the Chiefs have significantly reduced his playing time. So after that Green Bay Packers game, that was the Raiders game that came after that, and that Hardman only played 24 snaps on offense. Then against the Cowboys the next week, he only played 12 snaps, and then most recently against the Denver Broncos, he only played 9 snaps, which is his lowest of the season. Not only has Hardman seen his role diminish on the offense, but it looks like he's also been benched on special teams. He has had his kick and punt return duties relegated to cornerback Mike Hughes, who I actually think is pretty good as a returner, not so much as a cornerback, but I thought he was the best returner in preseason and early on in the year when they tried him a couple times. So I'm a fan of that move, but even Dave Toub was pretty honest about Mecole Hardman, saying he's not really doing well from a fundamental standpoint, and basically said, look, Mike Hughes is our guy going forward. So Mecole Hardman looks to be completely benched. The fascinating thing is Mecole Hardman came into the season as the Chiefs' number 2 wide receiver. That was the plan, is that Mecole was going to take over and step into that number 2 wide receiver role. And since the beginning of the year, we've kind of seen several other players, basically every other receiver that's not Tyreek Hill, has played varying snap counts, anywhere from 3 to 33 snaps, and Mecole Hardman was still heavily in the mix despite the constant shakeup at wide receiver. Like, it's like 1 week Josh Gordon will lead the wide receivers in snaps, and then 1 week it'll be Demarcus Robinson. But Mecole Hardman was always still in that mix too. There were some games where Mecole Hardman would play like 60% of the snaps, but now it's just been completely diminished. But you can't say the Chiefs didn't give him an opportunity, because they gave him every opportunity. And what I always go back to is, if you look at the way the Chiefs have used Mecole Hardman, they have given him every single opportunity to step up and take advantage of the situation. They wanted him to be that wide receiver too. Even though they have been trying to replace him since April, and they tried to get Juju Smith-Schuster, and they went for OBJ and all this, Hardman doesn't seem too concerned by that. He doesn't seem like he's really pushing himself to get better. Personally, I feel like Mecole Hardman just doesn't take being a professional football player all that seriously. And I know it's just Twitter, but, on Twitter, when Mecole Hardman is on there, I see a lot of him tweeting about playing video games. And there was that situation over the offseason where he turned down running routes with Patrick Mahomes over the offseason. But he did say he wanted to become a more complete receiver. I'm just not sure he actually put in the work to do so. But yeah, what I was talking about was the Chiefs have given him every opportunity. They have created all these manufactured touches for him. They give him the ball at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, handoffs, screen plays, just to get him going. And even when they do that, he's putting the ball on the ground. And on special teams, even though he probably should have lost his returner spot a long time ago, they still gave him chance after chance, and he was catching fair catches at the 5-yard line, and he was fumbling on special teams too. I mean, just all this crazy stuff. And people will point out he's actually on pace to finish with a career high in receiving yards. Here's the thing with that. Number one, he has had the same amount of receiving yards the past 2 years. He didn't progress from year 1 to year 2. He was right around 500 yards receiving, even though he saw increased targets in year 2. And his draft class peers really seem to be outperforming him. So my point there is him getting a career high in receiving yards when his career high in receiving yards is only 500 or so receiving yards and he's a third-year player. Like, that's not saying a whole lot. Secondly, you have to consider how many of those yards are being accumulated from these manufactured touches and the Chiefs isolating him and getting him the ball. How many of these yards is he getting by getting open, by beating the press, by winning over the middle, by getting his big, deep plays? He hasn't had a ton of big, deep plays this year like we've kind of come to know him as doing. He hasn't had a lot of those even. You could make an argument that he's actually regressed this year, which is why you're seeing him be benched. Hardman racking up all these yards on screens and handoffs isn't all that impressive to me because a lot of players can make a living designed off handoffs and manufactured touches. DeAnthony Thomas, Dexter McCluster. I mean, at this point, Mecole Hardman is a glorified Dexter McCluster. So all of this begs the question, is Mecole Hardman done in Kansas City? Well, the answer to that question is a little more complicated than a simple yes or no. I believe Mecole Hardman will be here through the end of his rookie contract. Really, when you have a player like Mecole Hardman, who, even though he's been a massive disappointment, can still be a weapon. You know, he's still going to be in your rotation to an extent. I mean, he's still got speed. He will break off a long one every once in a while. He's a young, cost-controlled player. There's no reason to think he won't be here until his rookie deal is up unless someone offers to trade for him and it's a deal you can't refuse. But this recent benching of Mecole Hardman kind of feels like the point of no return for me. The coaches have given him every opportunity. He's had a ton of time here already. They've given him a long leash, and now they've seemed to have lost trust in him. And when you're in year 3 as a player with the same team that you've been with as a rookie, I mean, you don't really come back from that. Again, Hardman will still have some good plays here and there. He's still going to be here through the end of his rookie contract. And he can still make a nice career for himself. But the hope of him ever being a focal point of the Chiefs' offense, that feels dead. And look, it hurts me to have to admit this about a player that I like. A lot of people say that I'm a negative fan a lot of the time. Yeah, I kind of consider myself pessimistic. I like to look at things pessimistically. But, however, with Mecole Hardman, this is different than the acquisition of Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Frank Clark, where I wasn't really a fan of those moves to begin with, and I've been waiting for those guys to prove me wrong. With Mecole, like, I wanted him to be good. I liked the draft pick. And look, I don't root for the players to fail, because if the players fail, it makes the team worse, and I want the Chiefs to win, okay? Like, people act like I'm out here rooting for the Chiefs and their players to fail. No, I wanted Hardman to be good. It's just not happening. It's not working out. I mean, we're in year 3, guys. I think it's time to admit Mecole Hardman is what he is. And one argument I have been getting in response to this on my article is, oh, well, Hardman is being shelved for all these drops and things of that nature. Well, how about repercussions for Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, who are having a lot of the same problems? And look, yeah, that's true. I mean, their drops and they're putting the ball on the ground is as frustrating as ever. But guess what? Those guys get the benefit of the doubt because they are all pros, multiple-time all-pros, future Hall of Famers that we know can be better, and we've seen them be better. We cannot say the same for Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman has to show us. And so far, he just hasn't. So those are my thoughts on Mecole Hardman. I kind of feel like this is the point of no return for Mecole Hardman, but I want to hear from you guys. Do you think we're trending towards the end of Hardman's time in Kansas City, or do you think he will come back and prove himself? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. See ya.